So the first thing that I show in a rivalry video is the Celtics and the Lakers. That makes sense, right? I hope it does, or else this is a really awkward start to this thing. The Celtics and the Lakers in the 1980s is the best rivalry in the history of the NBA and perhaps the best one in all of sports, as we saw two drastically different styles, situations, appearances go at each other multiple times in the NBA Finals, and these teams did not like each other. On one side, you had the hard-nosed, the really frickin' mean, and if we can be honest, white Boston Celtics against the Showtime, the flashy, the fancy Los Angeles Lakers, and it made for some compelling entertainment that carried the NBA up until today. Who knows what happens if Larry Bird and Magic Johnson don't face off against each other in the 1980s. Another good one for you is the Detroit Pistons and the Chicago Bulls, aka the last time Michael Jordan ever looked like a human, if we forget about his Washington Wizards seasons, which I'm pretty sure all of us have, except none of us actually have. I don't know what I'm talking about. Isaiah Thomas and the Pistons, perhaps the most underrated dynasty in the history of the NBA, should have been a three-peat if it wasn't for a BS call. But Michael Jordan was eventually able to break through them and dominate the NBA for a really frickin' long time. And our most recent one would be the Boston Celtics, who were a veteran group full of guys who knew how to play together, who pushed the Miami Heat to the brink of a Game 7 in the Eastern Conference Finals, but LeBron James and the crew were just a little too damn good. Speaking of LeBron, he is a huge topic of today's video, talking about a modern-day rivalry that I feel could surpass all of these, and that would be his Cleveland Cavaliers against the Golden State Warriors. They've already faced each other the last two NBA Finals, and they're favorites to do it again for a third season in a row. And if we look at the Warriors, they are a team built on shooting, versatility, switching on screens, ball movement, as well as just hitting a lot of really stupid shots that make no damn sense. Of course, this does start with Steph Curry, who has broken the boundaries when it comes to what's considered to be an acceptable shot in basketball, but also Kevin Durant, one of the 5 best players and one of the best scorers the NBA has ever seen, has been added to their already 73-win mix as well. Now for the Cavaliers, it's a little more conventional, but that's okay because LeBron James is one of the best offensive leaders we've ever seen, and then Kyrie Irving, while he may not be the playmaker of LeBron, he will definitely kill you if you don't cater your defense towards him. And I believe that these two teams can put together the best rivalry that the NBA has ever seen, surpassing the Pistons and the Bulls, even surpassing the Celtics and the Lakers. How the hell is that going to happen? Well, I'll tell you this much. We have two great teams who don't exactly love each other, and we also have a case of LeBron James quickly ascending the NBA all-time ranks. Well, here are your 5 reasons, and it's going to get a little awkward right now because apparently for these videos you're supposed to have like a cool design and stuff, so here you go. That's kind of ugly, but whatever. And our first reason is uncertainty. Let me take you back 2 years ago, where LeBron managed to push this Golden State Warriors team to a Game 6, even though they were down 2 All-Stars. Matthew Dellaveding-Dong was the starting point guard. He's doing a hell of a job for the Bucks, by the way. And you also had Mozgov in over Kevin Love. So the Cavaliers were hampered and then some. Hopefully I used that word right. And the Warriors, I mean, credit to them, they still had to win the damn thing, and they did. So shout out to them. But then last season, my goodness, a 7-game epic that was decided in the last 50 seconds. Of course, you remember the Kyrie Irving 3-pointer right in Steph Curry's eye, which my gameplay doesn't look as cool as, but you know what I'm talking about. And then, of course, there was Curry's shameful refusal to attack the paint when he had Kevin Love on him. It was an epic series, no doubt, and a heroic performance by LeBron James, and the Cavaliers were able to win it in 7. But they came really damn close to losing this thing, and it did not look good for a while. If you remember the first 2 games of the series, the Warriors friggin' killed them, including a 33-point win in Game 2. It seemed like the Cavs just didn't have the defense, athleticism, or versatility to deal with these guys. And then after a Game 4 win, which consisted of 7 3-pointers made by Steph to give the Warriors a 3-1 lead, it seemed like this series was pretty close to being wrapped up. And the best way to describe it is Mo Williams' reaction right here. Which, hey, I got Mo Williams in the video, so that's a good thing, right? But then, as you know, the Cavaliers turned the Warriors into a meme with the whole 3-1 thing. Combination of Kyrie Irving as well as LeBron James being impossible to stop, whether it be pulling up or attacking the basket. But the Cavaliers also had a few mentality changes. First one, they're attacking Steph Curry. Whoever he's defending, you're going to be screening for LeBron or Kyrie. We're going to force him to play defense so he can't just rest and then kill us on the other end. But they also did a masterful job of switching everything on defense. It made the Warriors confused, it took them out of their element, it did not allow them to do what they normally do. Of course, once again, LeBron James putting on one of the best performances we've ever seen. They were able to get this thing back to a Game 7. It helps that Harrison Barnes forgot how to play basketball. It also helps that Draymond Green got suspended for Game 5. But still, what the Cavaliers did, it was insane. But even with all that, with all the intensity and the changes and the improvements they made, this thing was still decided in the last minute of a Game 7. Which is to say, these are really two frickin' good teams, man. So even if you have a favorite, even if you think one's gonna beat the other, no matter what outcome happens with this series, you're not gonna be surprised, and that is the basis of a rivalry. It should also be said that the Warriors struggled with getting baskets late in that 7th game because, look, ball movement and all that is great, but sometimes you need a guy who can just go and get a bucket for you, which is what LeBron James and the Cavs can do. Well, enter Kevin Durant. No player this good has ever signed to a team like the Warriors, a team that's already won 72 frickin' games. Durant will give the Warriors something they did not have, which is the ability to say, well, crap, nothing's going well right now, just give it to Kevin and let him go to work. That's going to add another dynamic to this whole thing, and we also get to see some nice Kevin Durant versus LeBron James matchup, so that'll be fun. And that's the basis of a rivalry, man, the uncertainty about it. Who the hell's going to win when these two teams face each other? That's what's exciting. That's the first step towards this. There has to be the unknown. And now get ready for another really bad graphic. Ooh boy, that's ugly. What's our second reason? Well, it's a lack of competition for both teams. Now, while the Warriors definitely have it tougher because they're in the Western Conference, I still see these two teams making the finals for the next few seasons. When we look at their respective conferences and the teams that are going to be going up against them, we can start with the Eastern Conference. I don't think anybody has a chance against the Cavaliers. When we look at the Milwaukee Bucks, sure, Giannis is awesome and might end up being one of the best players in the league, but that team is quite a few years away. The same thing can be said for Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons once he comes back, and the entire 76ers situation. I think Jimmy Butler is, if not a top 10 player, very close right now. But Dwayne Wade, given his age, I mean, I don't think they have a chance. Now, D. Wade in his prime, that's a different story, but unfortunately that's not the case. The Boston Celtics might have a lot of two-way players, a great head coach and all that. They do not have a top 10 player. And while I love the potential of a 1-2 punch with Paul George and Miles Turner, it's going to take more than two guys to beat LeBron James and the Cavaliers. Kemba Walker is the only guy on the Hornets who should even be thinking about scoring 20 points a game. The Toronto Raptors, who may be the second best team in the East. DeRozan has taken a jump with his scoring, but this team still has a huge hole at the power forward spot, and they're not very good defensively. To go with their struggles in the playoffs, Andre Drummond is going to have to make considerable improvements when it comes to his low post game, his overall defense, as well as his free throw shooting. I also think Tobias Harris is going to have to take another step to becoming a 20-plus scorer in the NBA. So in other words, I don't see anybody contending against the Cavaliers in the East for quite a few seasons. If we can move on to the West, like I said, the Warriors' job is tougher. It's more dense competition, but let's dive into it. The Clippers, look, Chris Paul is still one of the best players in the league. Behind LeBron James, might be the second best leader in the NBA. And I do think their front court and size could definitely give the Warriors a headache. However, this is not a complete roster. Once you go past the top 4 guys, the talent drops off considerably. And look, I love Jamal Crawford too, but his lack of efficiency, defense, and playmaking, he can't be your 5th guy against the Golden State Warriors. Now, a healthy Grizzlies team, that one's pretty damn scary because they can bully you up front, which is the one weakness of the Warriors. But given that they have a lot of perimeter talent with Mike Conley, who's always getting better, as well as Chandler Parsons, there's a lot of potential there. Unfortunately, both of those guys are injured, but even then, you gotta have that big-time shot maker. There's a lot of 16 to 18-point scorers on this team. No one's putting up 25 consistently. I think a similar thing can be said about the Utah Jazz. A whole lot of really good players who, once they're healthy, I think can be a very good team. Now, maybe Rodney Hood or perhaps even Gordon Hayward could go to the next level. I mean, hey, maybe. Now, James Harden definitely fits the bill of the top player who can be a shot maker. But if you think this team's defending the Warriors for 7 games, good luck on that one. Now, the San Antonio Spurs are interesting. Kawhi Leonard has elevated his game once again, already being a top 5 player. And LaMarcus Aldridge might be the one big man in the NBA that Draymond will actually have problems with. But this team had athleticism questions last season. They also have 2 huge defensive holes, one of which is Tony Parker, and the other one is Pau Gasol. If you think Gasol is going to have a chance against the Warriors, I don't see it at all. Now, as for the Oklahoma City Thunder, I mean, if you put Kevin Durant back on them, yeah, I think they'd have a chance. Kevin, why the hell did you leave? That would have been the most fun rivalry ever. And then some other young teams, the Los Angeles Lakers, many years away. Same thing can be said for the T-Wolves. Now, of course, there are variables that can come out of nowhere. Kevin Durant could decide to leave this offseason and go somewhere else and make someone else a title contender. Do I think that'll happen? Probably not, but who the hell knows what's going on in his head? He does have a player option. And also, star players could be moved. I mean, DeMarcus Cousins might be on the trade block. Perhaps John Wall, the way the Wizards situation is going. That type of stuff is always up in the air. But as the NBA sits right now, as I voice crack, I don't think either one of these teams in their respective conferences are going to be beaten barring injuries, which of course makes this a better rivalry because they're going to be playing each other a lot. We could see the next 3 or 4 NBA finals being these 2 teams. Now, the third reason why this can be the best rivalry ever is that these 2 teams do not like each other. And the next 2 sections, you're going to see a whole lot of Draymond Green, and I'm sure you're not surprised to hear me say that one. Remember the fight that Draymond and LeBron got into during the finals? Bit of an altercation, a lot of yelling at each other. What was apparently said is that Draymond Green questioned LeBron's manhood, if you will, if I can put it lightly. With which LeBron responded with, "Hey, I'm a man and I have 3 kids." Apparently that wasn't enough for Draymond because he just stood by what he was saying. And then to reply to that one, LeBron James simply said, "I'm just going to take the high road there." And a Warriors teammate, Klay Thompson, said, well, his feelings are probably hurt. So we're already getting a little personal, that's cool. Actually very personal, if we can be honest, with Draymond's statement. But LeBron came back at him pretty hard as he memed him pretty damn good during his Halloween party where he had a Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson gravestones, as well as the 3-1 lead being dead. Okay, now that's just frickin' funny. Most recently, Draymond Green just said, "I want to destroy Cleveland." And then the Cavaliers, of course, hearing that one, got a reply from Iman Shumpert where he just said, "We're going to bust you guys again. This is great. They don't like each other. We got insults. We got personal stuff going on. We got memes." I mean, this is the perfect rivalry of 2016. We got to be honest here. Now, number 4 is of a similar vein to the third one, which is people just don't like the friggin' Warriors, man. It starts with Steph Curry. Charles Barkley said that he's a great shooter and nothing else. According to Tracy McGrady, the reason why Steph has won the MVP is because the NBA today is watered down. Oscar Robertson thinks the only way that Curry can be this successful is because teams and coaches today don't know how to play defense. There's a real disrespect towards Steph Curry and his game, and there's also a belief among just fans that his shooting might be great, but his overall game, his defense, his playmaking, his willingness to draw contact, it's just not there, and some people think he's just kind of soft. So that's what it is with Steph. Now, as for Draymond Green, I mean, People don't like his trash talking, his abrasiveness, his cockiness. Speaking of, I mean, listen, how many times are you going to freaking kick people? Or, I mean, there's a picture right there with a red circle and everything. What do you need me to say? Like, if there's anyone who's among the most disliked in the NBA today because of their antics, Draymond Green is definitely up there. But if all that wasn't enough, then Kevin Durant comes into the mix. And the amount of hate and negativity on Kevin Durant's name once he decided to sign with the Warriors was insane, man. I mean, you go to any random NBA-related video on YouTube, look at that comment section, there's no way there's not going to be some hate towards Kevin Durant. I mean, you want to talk about people calling Steph Curry soft? I mean, Durant's on a new level with some of the things people are saying about him. And I alluded to it earlier, I really wish he would have stayed in Oklahoma City for, the OKC versus Golden State thing, but it didn't happen. But people want these guys to lose, and that adds theatrics, it adds entertainment. It makes the rivalry more interesting when they want the Cavs to beat these guys. So there's a lot here so far. There's two top-tier teams going at it year after year. A lot of bad blood between them. The fans are invested because they want the Warriors to lose. But none of that compares to number one. The number one reason why this can be the best rivalry in the history of the NBA, LeBron James' pursuit of Michael Jordan. So, I hope I'm not breaking news when I say this. LeBron's a pretty big deal. To give you a few numbers, when he retires, his chances of being top 5 all-time in scoring are pretty much guaranteed, and his chances of being top 10 in assists are pretty close to a sure thing as well. His on-court resume is simply astounding. For a player to be as effective as he is at scoring, attacking a defense, running an offense by himself, as well as being one of the greatest passers in the history of the league, it doesn't make any damn sense. However, if he wants to be the best of all time, he's got one thing and one thing only standing in his way. Well, a few things. Championships. Michael Jordan has 6 of them. MJ is perhaps the most dominant player the game has ever seen, with his cerebral scoring ability and his relentless, to the point of nearly psychotic, will to win, carry his teammates, as well as bury his opponent. Also one of the best defensive players of all time. I mean, he's Michael frickin' Jordan. The shots, the moments that this guy has had, people just haven't been able to recapture in the NBA. And we haven't had anyone who had a real opportunity to potentially dethrone MJ. But LeBron James, where he's sitting right now at 31 years old, could do it. However, there's one team standing in his way, and yeah, it's these Golden State Warriors. So think about this one. You take two great teams who really dislike each other, battling it out year after year, yelling at each other, bickering at each other, the fans are invested because they want the Warriors to lose, and then while all this is happening, we could be witnessing LeBron James becoming the greatest player in the history of the NBA. The intensity would be off the charts, and I can't think of a rivalry that can be better.